Oregon is not blowing out Colorado. Oregon is a 21-point favorite. Colorado, I think, has a better chance at pulling off this upset than they do Oregon covering. Oregon is a really good team. Not taking that away from Oregon, but people make it seem like Oregon is just this juggernaut of a team. They're Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio State, and they're going to be able to pulverize Colorado. Let me tell you something. As long as Deion Sanders is back there taking snaps underneath center for the Buffs, Colorado has a chance to win every single game that they play in. It doesn't matter how much talent Oregon has because that defense isn't good. They got shredded by Texas Tech. Are we not forgetting how Texas Tech put 30 on Oregon's defense? It doesn't matter if Oregon's defense cleaned it up in the second half and they played better. They still gave up 30 and they still look just as bad this season as they did last year. Colorado's defense isn't good. We already know that, but let's not act like Oregon's defense is all world. The offensive line for Colorado is bad. Everybody's going to have at least 4 sacks on Colorado's offensive line, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be unable to move the ball. Oregon's secondary is still going to give up a lot of big plays to Xavier Weaver and Jimmy Horn Jr. Deion Sanders can carry Colorado to a win against Oregon. You potentially could have Alton McCaskill coming back for this game. A lot of you Oregon fans don't know about Alton McCaskill, but if he plays in this game, y'all about to know who Alton McCaskill is pretty quickly. Y'all better go do some homework about Alton McCaskill and when he did his true freshman year at Houston. This fool was averaging 6 yards per carry and had 16 touchdowns as a true freshman playing for Houston, fam. If he plays in this game, he's going to be a major X factor. They lost one playmaker and Travis Hunter, and they gained the new one, and Alton McCaskill potentially suiting up for this game. But Deion Sanders is the biggest determining factor for Oregon being able to win or lose this game. If they can't slow him down, which I doubt they will be able to, I don't see how they cover. This defense hasn't proven anything. They haven't been tested. Well, they have been tested and they failed. They couldn't even shut down Texas Tech. Everybody's talking about, oh, well, Colorado almost lost to Colorado State. Okay, that's supposed to happen. Everything isn't going to be clean with Colorado because they have a fairly new roster that's been overhauled through the transfer portal. Everything isn't going to look peachy cream. You're not going to have dominant performances every single week. That's just what comes with having a new roster that's been built this way through the transfer portal. And consistency. One thing that Colorado does well is that they don't have a lot of penalties, which is something that's going to be very important with them going on the road in this game. That home crowd in Autzen Stadium is going to be rolling. They're going to be rocking. And this offensive line has to make sure that they don't have any false start penalties or any pre-snap penalties that cost them yardage in this game. Colorado's defense isn't great, but they're third in the nation in takeaways. They get big stops and big moments when it matters. Not just are they good at forcing turnovers, but they also have a pretty good red zone defense. Oregon has Bo Nix. I'm not saying that Colorado's defense is going to slow down Bo Nix, but people are making it seem like Oregon's defense is just this all-world defense and they're going to neutralize Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is a better quarterback than Bo Nix. It's Caleb Williams, Deion Sanders, and everybody else. It's levels to this shit. I'm not saying Bo Nix isn't good. Bo Nix has an opportunity to really put himself on the map because everybody's going to be watching. It's Deion Sanders in Colorado who's not going to have their eyes glued to this game or at least checking out the score. Bo Nix is a really great quarterback and he should have a really good game against a lackluster defense. But Deion Sanders, man, is just him. Deion Sanders has proven no matter what throughout all the odds and adversity that whenever the game is on the line and you put the ball in his hands, he comes through every single time. He just has ice in his veins. And if this is a close game and Oregon isn't able to cover that 21-point spread and this comes down to one final possession when Colorado has the opportunity to win this game, Colorado will come away with the victory. People keep trying to judge Colorado based on what's traditional. Don't know if you guys have picked up on this, but Colorado isn't having the traditional season that you see from a team that's supposed to be in rebuild mode. They've already tripled their win total from last year. They won one game. They're already at 3. With a win in this game, they were exceed their over-under win total of 3.5. Colorado is a team that you can't always judge them based on talent. They're always going to be a team in any game that they play in from this point forward. When they're going against some of the better teams in the Pac-12, they're always going to be a big underdog. There's not going to be a single game that Colorado's going to be favored in when they go against some of the top teams in the Pac-12 where they're going to be a favorite. Vegas judge teams based on talent, but they're not taking into account the other factors like the coaching or the fact that Colorado just has this magic around them that no matter what, they just find ways to prevail and come out on top. These are teams that you don't overlook. Teams that just find ways to win are teams that you can't overlook. It doesn't matter if they do it pretty. It doesn't matter if they do it dominantly. A win is a win at the end of the day. That's what you're looking at if you're Colorado. Colorado hasn't made it this far just because they're a fluke. Oregon hasn't played nobody. Why is everybody making it seem like Colorado hasn't been tested? Who the hell has Oregon played that even has a winning record? Texas Tech, who they nearly lost to Wyoming. They've done played Portland State and Hawaii. They haven't been tested. This is the first time Oregon is actually going to be going up against a legitimate quarterback. Tyler Shuck is okay, but he's no Shadur Sanders. Shadur Sanders doesn't turn the football over. He's accurate. He makes great decisions with the football. He can extend plays. He has great pocket presence. He has a great arm. There's nothing that Shadur Sanders can't do. Bo Nix is a great quarterback, but he's not Shadur Sanders. Shadur Sanders is the kind of quarterback that's good enough to carry a team to a win if your defense isn't elite. No team in the Pac-12 has proven at this point right now in the season that they have elite defense. The best teams in this conference last year had some of the worst defenses in college football. Oregon, Washington, USC. I mean, we got to stop acting like Colorado and Oregon is just a complete mismatch, because it's not. On paper, it looks like it, but when the final game gets played, this is going to be a competitive football game. Oregon is not going to cover that 21-point spread. I already got my money on it. They got Shadur Sanders. Travis Hunter is a big loss, but they got my boy Shadur. Shadur always comes through when the game is on the line. He's not going to come up short in this game against an Oregon defense that hasn't proven anything, and Dan Lanning is supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. Oregon has more blue-chip players. Cool, but none of those guys are playing like blue chips on defense, at least from what I've seen. They got shredded by Texas Tech. If Oregon was as good as a team as ESPN and Vegas makes them out to be, where they're a 21-point favorite, why didn't we see that against Texas Tech? They should have blew out Texas Tech. I don't give a damn if it was on the road. They should have annihilated Texas Tech if they're this good of a program. I mean, bro, like, the biggest highlight of Oregon season was them putting 80 on Portland State. Portland State isn't even a Division I program. They play in the FCS. You want kudos for that shit? You want kudos for blowing out Hawaii? There's not a single team that Oregon has played this year that Colorado wouldn't be able to beat. Colorado would smack Hawaii. Colorado would easily smack Portland State. And they would smack Texas Tech. Oregon hasn't been battle tested as much as Colorado has. And I'm not even including the Colorado State game. We know Oregon will roll Colorado State. But would they beat TCU? Would they have beaten Nebraska the same way? I mean, Oregon hasn't played near the same competition that Colorado has played. People are being a little bit too biased when it comes to talking about this game just because Oregon has the talent advantage. Talent doesn't always win games, man. Colorado is a big Cinderella story in college football. You remember the Minnesota Gophers a couple of years ago back in 2019 when they upset Penn State on the road and the whole Minnesota Cinderella story really started to reach its peak? That's the same thing with Colorado. Colorado has a great quarterback and they got a great coaching staff. They never go into a game ill-prepared or poorly coached. They may have some performances where they may not play as good as what they should. They may play down the competition, but that's what you expect with a roster like this. But against Oregon, you can definitely expect for Coach Prime to have these boys ready to play. Last week against Colorado State, it was a rivalry game. Those rivalry games always tend to be a little bit closer than expected. Emotions run high. They weren't extremely dialed in as what they should be due to the nasty hit that Travis Hunter took that ultimately led him to have to be hospitalized. But I think against Colorado, I think against Oregon, you're going to see a more dialed in and locked in Buffs team. Oregon is a good team. I'm not trying to say they aren't. I like Colorado to win this game, but that's just because I'm just like, fuck it. Like, if I'm picking Colorado to win every single weekend, people are just going to continue to make it seem like Colorado is just going to be a team that gets blown out by all the big boys, then I just got to take them every single week just because I got to show that I believe. And apparently a lot of you people still don't believe. A lot of y'all still think that this is a hype train. And the sad thing about this is that the reason why I'm taking Colorado to win, because even if they, even if they don't win and even if they lose, like, people are still going to call them trash and overrated regardless. Like, if Colorado wins this game, people are still going to say that they don't have a chance at beating Oregon. So what's the difference? I might as well go ahead and pick them to win if I have to come on here every single week and defend them not losing and them not getting blown out just because they're playing a great team or a team that people perceive to be great. If you watch the Pac-12, you know that plenty of upsets occur in this conference. There's a reason why no team from the Pac-12 made it to the college football playoffs, because this conference is so tough that you have teams like Oregon that sometimes they just don't come out on their A game. Don't be overlooking Colorado all because of the talent, man. Like, I'm getting tired of people talking about talent. Like, shut up. Shut up. I heard somebody say that Colorado had the worst roster in college football. Well, the worst roster in college football is 3-0, ranked inside the top 25. I mean, you just got to stop doubting Colorado. You got to show these boys some respect. A 21-point underdog, Colorado has been here before against TCU. People thought that TCU was so better than Colorado, and all of a sudden, Colorado shocks TCU, and all of a sudden, TCU ain't the team that we thought they were. What's going to be the story when Colorado beats Oregon? Oh, Oregon just wasn't that good. Oregon beat themselves. Like, people never are going to give Colorado the respect they deserve this season. They just aren't, because people are going to continue to doubt this team. People are going to look for any opportunity when this team loses to say, oh, I told you so, and point the finger and say Deion's a fraud and try to make it seem like Colorado is just overhyped. I can't wait for this game, man. I really hope Colorado really gives it to Oregon, because every single week, people continue to count this team out. Talent doesn't always win games. Every single team that Colorado has played against has had a more superior roster. Even Nebraska. If you go and you look at 247 Sports Team Talent Composite rankings, Nebraska was in the 20s and Colorado is in the mid-30s. SMU has a better roster than Colorado. You can't just say a team's going to win and lose all because they got a better roster according to recruiting rankings. There's a reason why they played the freaking games. And when you play the games, you find out that Colorado is a better team than what people give them credit for on paper. The things that people can account for on paper is the impact of coaching and just the ability of having Deion Sanders as your head coach, having his team being able to rise up in the biggest moments. I promise you, if this is a one-possession game and you give Shedeur Sanders the chance to win this game, Colorado's going to win this game. It doesn't matter if it's on the road or at home. You put Colorado in a situation where Shedeur has to get it done, and he's going to get it done. I like the Buffs to win this game. 54-52 is my final score prediction.